evening this has been. Hi there. Welcome, everybody, to this is Thursday, so I guess this is Cast Iron Thursday. As I say every Wednesday, almost every Wednesday, on these live videos, that a whole bunch of YouTube cooking channels have a tradition going where on Wednesdays they do a video about cast iron, whether it's cooking in cast iron, collecting cast iron, restoring cast iron, cleaning cast iron, yada, 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 cast iron. Yes, that's the tradition we call Cast Iron Wednesday, and I'm proud to have been a part of that for going on almost 2 years now. Every so often, unfortunately, I have had to postpone that just because, well, like it or not, number one, I have a life. Number two, I have a full-time job. And number three, I am not, unfortunately, trying to make a living off of this YouTube channel. And so that means I had no choice but to postpone it until tonight. And I can only thank thank you so much, everybody here who has been kind enough to come here on Thursday as well. Because, yeah, I do see a number of friends here, and I'm very glad to see the names here like Cynthia Wesley and Rick Stumbow, Val's Black Cats Rules. Hello, John S. Old Fashioned Coffee Pod, William Hurt, Christine Borgatti. Oh, you're here on time. Aren't you usually a little later? That's good. And R. Hughes and Joshua Bouchard, Pegtooth. Yeah, we saw Val's Black Cats. I haven't seen Papa Den yet. Hopefully everything's doing okay with him. And especially from all of this chat, which is great. I mean, that's really what keeps this thing so much fun here. I'm very slightly kind of changing the subject from what I originally was going to talk about. I'm still going to talk about what we have here. You see this enameled cast iron pot and this aluminum Dutch oven as well. However, I see a real lively discussion about seasoning cast iron has broken out. And that's always good. You know, seasoning cast iron is one of those things that everybody is talking about forever and probably always will be, because, you know, as long as we use cast iron, we will need to do that about seasoning. But because of that, I thought I might actually chip in a little bit and start out by cleaning up some bare cast iron. I'm not going to do that for this whole thing, but I think this is a good excuse, I think, to show off that score, that flea market score I made on Sunday, especially since that also happens to be a topic that's been brought up here a couple of times. So if you will be kind enough, I'm going just to take about 30 seconds. I'm running out to the lye tank to bring it in. And actually, I better move my this over to the sink so that you'll be able to have a look-see. There we go. Okay, I'm going to take about 30 seconds. I will be right back. Please keep on talking. That's fine. And then we will have some fun. And here we are, folks. It's been soaking in the lye tank for about 4 days or so, and the seasoning is coming off nicely. So I think we will start out by giving this a good scrubbing. This is, in fact, my first Canadian-made cast iron pan. And so, yeah, I'm actually was quite surprised to discover this at a flea market here in Massachusetts, and quite happy as well to discover that it is actually Canadian-made. I thought it was Griswold. First of all, let me start with doing what needs to be done, and that is we get our favorite cast iron cleaner, and that is Barkeeper's Friend. So let's get a move on here and start applying ourselves some elbow grease. But yes, yeah, I already did that short video. I'm sure that folks have seen about where I came across this at a flea market, and at first I thought this was a Griswold, although I think it maybe is slightly thicker than a Griswold. I will say that. However, my initial reasoning for that was because take a look at this, really, this number on the handle here. I mean, this looks exactly like the block logo that used on a Griswold pan. So that's why I thought this was initially an unmarked Griswold that may have been made for a department store. But since then, the cast iron experts, much more so than myself, have since stated that that it was known that that this particular foundry did use Griswold molds in making their cast irons. So cast off molds, just like how we've seen some of those old strange gate marked Erie pieces where other foundries use cast off or discarded, that is, molds from the Griswold foundry and made their own cast iron pans. So we have one from Canada. So yes, I was actually quite happy to discover this because so it's not a Griswold, big deal. What it is a nice cast iron pan here. Now that we've done that, let's rinse it off. And as you can see, after 4 days in the lye bath, the seasoning is practically completely stripped away here. So that was no difficulty at all to clean up. One reason why I like the lye bath. It's just a set and forget it type of thing, and it takes very little effort to clean up a pan that's been given a good lye treatment. A little bit around the edges. Looks like maybe one spot or so in the center, but that's about it. And now let's take a look here. Eaton T. Eaton Company, Housewares Departments Limited. So yeah, this is definitely, as I'm told, it is in fact a Canadian-made cast iron skillet, despite that size number there. So I'm, especially since I scored this for $5, I have really no complaints at all. And now that we've done this, we better get on to the next step so that we don't get any flash rust. All right, let's get that going. That means, get to take this off for the moment. So anyway, yeah, the discussion though has to do with seasoning cast iron pans from what I saw. And everybody, of course, is talking about what the best oil is to season cast iron. I've even seen a couple of people tonight in those comments talking about hemp and use hemp oil to season cast iron. I've never tried using hemp, but it's been said, and I've repeated it myself enough times, pretty much any oil should work for seasoning cast iron, because essentially what we're going to be doing is burning on or carbonizing a layer of of seasoning onto it. So what it really has more to do with is smoke points than anything else. And now again, before this what's the word, before the flash rust takes place, let's quickly give this thing a nice decent coating of Crisco. This is not going to be the first layer of seasoning. This is actually just to put a layer on the pan to prevent oxidation, i.e. rust. And this first layer does not have to be thin. You can make it thick if you want. In other words, you don't have to be gentle, because we are going to be wiping the majority of this off anyway. What I'm doing right now, as I said, is just giving this a layer to prevent rusting. And then once it has a good coating, it will then go into the oven, and I'm going to heat it at about 200 to 250 degrees to get it nice and hot. After that, we will apply the first coating of seasoning. And I think we need a better view of this. Sorry about that, folks. There we go. A little bit more on the sides here. Okay, get this going. Maybe a wee bit more Crisco on the handle. Okay. There we go. It actually looks pretty nice right now, doesn't it? As I said, with this first layer, of course, technically you could even cook with this. The problem, of course, is that this layer would come off right away. And then after that, it would probably start rusting again. So, especially after the pan is washed. That's why we need the seasoning. It's been demonstrated for the record that seasoning really doesn't do much in regards to a non-stick coating on the surface. What it primarily does is protect against rust, and that is actually very important. So let's take one more look at this, I guess. Once again, this T. Eaton #8 cast iron skillet. By the way, this thing is actually fairly heavy. I would have to say it definitely is heavier than a Griswold. But it's a very decent skillet. I mean, anybody at all would be proud to use this. That's for sure. And oh yeah, let's check and see if it's a spinner, shall we? And the answer is very, very slightly. Okay, so apparently it was very, very slightly warped, but that's no big deal, quite frankly. This should still not have any problem at all with cooking. There we go. Now, let's stick this in the oven and start heating it up for the first coating of seasoning. I put it in upside down. There we go. Excuse me. All right, let's get the view back here. So anyway, since no lye on aluminum, how about a vinegar bath? Or is that not a good idea? Well, as you can see, I just literally used Barkeeper's Friend and washed this off. A vinegar bath is not a bad idea either, as that does help to remove some residual rust, as well as technically it does neutralize the lye. But the thing is, lye is water soluble, meaning that all we really need, especially since, as you can see, that thing is it's made this pan completely smooth. It washes off pretty easily. I just kept those gloves on as I was scrubbing the pan with Barkeeper's Friend, and that was no difficulty at all. But yes, I mean, a vinegar bath is useful, especially if your pans that have a real coating of rust. As you can see, that was in very good condition. I mean, it barely even had a chance to get on some flash rust. So that's why it was so easy to quickly clean it. Okay, meanwhile, going back here, is chloride like bleach? I don't know my chemistry, I'm sorry to say, folks. I'm not an expert at chemistry. Somebody else commented that I might be able to provide a listing of oils and their various properties, and again, I am not the person who is able to do something like that. I've said enough times I'm still an amateur. I'm speaking from experience with so many others have, and my experience has taught me a couple of things. One of which is that I like using Crisco as Jeff Rogers years ago, when this whole big cast iron thing exploded. Jeff Rogers, the culinary fanatic, was one of the initial superstars of this cast iron community, and he immediately started using Crisco to treat his pans. And I followed his advice, and I like it too. Crisco does a good job of seasoning cast iron, and even more importantly, at least I think, it's also great for the daily treatment after washing cast iron, because Crisco does have a different chemical makeup from your regular typical olive oil or vegetable oil. It's what do they call it? Hydrogenated, I believe. Um, oil. The point being is that it does actually have a different chemical makeup. What that means is that if you regularly wash and grease your pans with vegetable oil and olive oil, well, you can do so, especially if you use those pans on a very regular basis. But as you know, the oil coating on those pans will start going sticky and rancid fairly quickly. We're talking like within a couple of days to a few days at most if you actually let it sit around that long. On the other hand, greasing the pans with Crisco after washing, I've found from experience, yes, it does still go sticky, but it takes much longer. Instead of a couple of days, it seems to happen more like after a couple of months. So you have a lot more leeway in regards to using the pans on a regular basis, especially if you've got a larger collection like mine. You would indeed, yeah, where I have trouble using all of my pans on a daily basis. The fact that Crisco takes longer to go rancid, actually, I find to be very, very useful. Um, and then, of course, we get to the actual seasoning of the pans, and that's where this really starts in. Whether you use Crisco or olive oil or flaxseed oil or grapeseed oil or coconut oil or even hemp oil. I'm not a fan of using those fancy oils, the grapeseed oil, the coconut oil, the hemp oil, for one important reason. They're expensive. And I mean, really, it's like when using cheaper vegetable oil or Crisco or even like, say, Crisby cast iron seasoning to season your cast iron pans, you, of course, you know, the expense is much lower. And if you're a cheapskate like I am, that actually makes a real difference. So because of that, I still have not seasoned my pans yet with coconut oil or grapeseed oil or hemp oil. Also from there, as we mentioned, though, the other big thing about the type of oils used in seasoning cast iron, that of course has to do with the with the smoke point, as the idea is really to try heating the oven to just a little bit over the smoke point if possible. Apparently, with oils with a low smoke point, if you blast those in the oven at 500 degrees, you will get a coating of seasoning on it. Yes, but apparently that coating of seasoning is not going to last as long as opposed to the higher smoke point oils, which I guess is one reason why the those cast iron seasoning sticks that they sell, whether it's Crisby or Easy Beasy cast iron seasoning, or there are a couple of others, and I actually forget the names of them right now because it's been a while since I've had to buy any of those. These cast iron seasoning things last a long time, like this one, for instance, from Crisby cast iron seasoning. They were also producing one instead of using Crisco. They were producing one made with lard, and because of that, they call this larby. I don't think that sold very well, and my understanding is larby has been discontinued, and I can understand why. I would honestly say that I think the typical Crisby combination, which is Crisco and beeswax, I think that does a better job of seasoning the cast iron than lard and beeswax, which is why I'm still using my imitation Crisby that I made. But okay, from there, okay, what do we have here in the comments? And then after that, I'll get back to the subject at hand. Which was, yeah, hi, Linda Mooney. Grandmother always used Crisco, so I have done the same. And yes, I mean, the important thing again is whatever works. If it works, then keep doing it. So, Canada is my go-to, and corn or Canada, oh, canola is my go-to, and corn or peanut oil is exotic in my market, says Peg Tooth. So, and likewise, no problems with rancid pans. Well, yeah, rancid pans will still cook. And admittedly, when you cook with a rancid pan, you are actually freshening up the seasoning. So it will probably still be much better after cooking, even if the oil is a little bit rancid after that. And R. Hughes, I heard the blue cap easy off is okay for aluminum, but the can says otherwise. Says do not spray onto aluminum surfaces. Okay, give me just a moment and we will be getting into that. There is chlorinated bleach and non-chlorinated bleach. Well, my understanding is bleach, it has chlorine in it. That's the basic chemical composition. But it's entirely possible, of course, that some companies may simply have come up with a different chemical combination and simply call it bleach. And even if even its chemical structure is nothing like bleach, they just put it in a bottle and put a label on it that says non-chlorinated bleach. So, and yeah, I do agree. The smell of bleach is pretty much unmistakable. So unless they maybe artificially add the bleach smell to it. um, Kenneth Kamienke, I'm using Mother's aluminum mag polish to clean up my Magnolite roaster. And Coffee Old Peg Tooth, that pan was commercially commissioned to sell at a Timothy Eaton retail store, and no doubt would have been a deal with a large foundry of quantity labeled, quality labeled, and sold. Yeah, that's how that's how they do that, and that's how they're still doing it for a number of even the big department stores today, like Ozark Trail, for instance, which is Walmart's house brand. Or is it they have another one now, House Wares or something? I can't believe it's already slipped my mind. But yes, they struck some deals with some of the major department stores, and there were many of them back in those days, to produce cast iron pans with their logo. And those are becoming more popular among collectors, especially because the collectors know the antique vendors will often sell them at lower prices, because even though they were made by Griswold, they don't have the Griswold logo on them. And so the antique vendors often don't know what they're selling, which is why you've got Wagner that was made pans for Montgomery Ward, and there are some cast iron pans out there with Ward on the logo, for instance. And likewise, there's the Puritan brand, which was made by Griswold, and I think also by Favorite for Sears Roebuck. And Lodge has made that, and I believe even Favorite Stove made some store brand pans as well. So yeah, what am I going to do with this T. Eaton pan after I clean it up? Well, I could use it, along with the however dozen many other cast iron pans in my collection. I guess we will see what happens with that. But number 8 Canadian for $5. I wouldn't care if it spun like a top. Yes, exactly. That's the point. I mean, yes, that thing may be a slight spinner, but I would not hesitate to gift it to anyone who wants a quality cast iron pan. So okay, a couple of things. A couple of folks have already mentioned aluminum, and yes, you can see over here we've got sorry, there we go. And over here on the back, what do we have? Not one, but two aluminum pots here. And as a matter of fact, that's a little interesting as well. The one in the back I've used a number of times, and I've also cleaned up a number of times. And this is the Wagner Ware Magnolite Dutch oven that I have used in a number of videos. And I really enjoy this. I've said enough times that this is like the best water boiler I've used, and I really love this for things like making rice or boiling water for pasta and so on and so on. However, several months, maybe even a year or so back, at a church thrift store, I came across nothing less than another another Wagner Ware Magnolite Dutch oven, and this one cost me $12, and it even came with a lid on it. So currently it's in a little, I mean, it's still in very nice shape. In a way, it's a little rougher though than the aluminum one, than the Magnolite that I've been using. So I definitely have to give this a bit of a treatment in order to make this ready. Now, the main reason why I got this is actually going to be a present for Jamie, because well, pretty soon we are going to be going our separate ways, as I do one thing and she does another, and I've been talking about that. However, because especially because she really loves this aluminum pot, I was glad to find this one that I'm going to clean up right now and give to her. She already knows that, by the way. This is not a surprise. However, there's the thing. If you look on this, you see all these little spots here on the bottom. I've already been trying to scrub these things off, and they just don't seem to be coming off. Likewise, as well, there is some indeed ground on, or there's some grit in the Wagner Ware logo on this. Oh, by the way, one other thing. Take a close look at this Wagner Ware logo, and this looks a lot more like the classic Wagner Ware logo that you would see on an older Wagner pot. Whereas the script on the other one is definitely newer. For that reason, I'm convinced this one here is probably from the 1960s to the 1980s, and I think I've said as much. This one, on the other hand, may be somewhat older. It even has a model number on it. So I'm still not an expert, I'm afraid, at dating Wagner Magnolite, but I'm thinking this is probably more vintage than mine. And so that's another reason why I'm glad to be able to give it as a gift. However, let's get down to what I had said, and let's clean up some aluminum. As I mentioned already, it's got all of these spots here on the bottom. Basically, these are little pits or something. So this thing evidently did go through some quite a bit of abuse. It may have been in storage for a long period of time, and so we've got to give this a nice good cleaning. Let's bring this over to the sink and get started on it. All right, let's see if I can get a good view here. There we go. And once again, thank you everybody for going through this roller coaster like we do seem to do every week. Okay, and now that means it's time to show off the aluminum cleaner that I've found has done an excellent job, and that indeed would be Easy Off Oven Cleaner. It's been pointed out already. This is the blue can, of course. This is the one that does not have lye in it. The yellow can, whether it's Easy Off brand or the store brand, the yellow can has lye in it, and you absolutely never want to use lye-based cleaners on aluminum, because here we go. We get into chemistry again. Lye will react with aluminum. Lye will dissolve aluminum and damage aluminum. So you never, never want to use the yellow can of Easy Off. On the other hand, the blue can of Easy Off here, let me check these ingredients. Somebody was commenting about what was in the ingredients here, and it says here, ingredients: water. Let me see if I can read this right. Dipropylene glycol propyl ether. I can barely read this. Isotoplane, I'm not sure. Potassium carbonate, ethanol. I give up. Basically, a lot of fancy little names here in the chemical. Even one that says paraffin wax, mind you. Also, something called fragrance, which is interesting in itself, along with some kind of benzyl alcohol. Okay, and I said again, I am not a chemistry expert. What I do know is that this actually does a pretty darn good job in getting the deep down dirt off of aluminum, and so that's exactly what we are going to do here. By the way, no gloves required. This is actually safe enough to use on your hands, or so they say. So let's start doing it. Give it a nice thick coating here. And then let's also turn it over. and start doing some here and here, and also a little bit down here, and on the other side as well. Do this right. There we are. Okay. And now we just let this sit for about 15 minutes. However, of course, we're not just going to sit here for 15 minutes. We also, oh yeah, that's right. We also have this lid, which I'll give a treatment after the pot is done. Let's at least wipe off my hands, though. And having said that, let's see what we have here. In regards to the comments so far, needed in a scented candle. Oh, yummy, easy off fragrance. Yes, fragrance. It actually was one of the ingredients. It said fragrance. Typically, what that means is that it's an ingredient in such a small quantity that legally they do not have to identify the exact chemical on the label, which is also why on a number of foods there is an ingredient called natural flavoring, as well as another one called artificial flavoring. That's because the natural flavoring is so small. Again, they don't have to specifically identify it. Well, that's how legalese goes. Kim, now that okay, Papa Dan. Hi, Papa Dan. Now that I changed the metal is better. Hey, Turner Fowler. Nice to see you, Papa Dan. And Cynthia Wesley. I'd like to know that answer too. Get weekends. Jamie, get weekdays. Maybe split custody. What are we? Split custody of what? Are we talking about the cats, perhaps? Oh, the cats. Oh, yeah. That's certainly Paul. Yeah, Jamie's going to miss them because unfortunately I'm going to be moving out of state. Well, um, that's really a subject not for discussion on YouTube Live. But yes, I mean, suffice to say, we are parting amiably. So there's nothing to worry about there. Have you seen the Q grill made by Atlanta Stoveworks, all cast iron grill? There is a Facebook group, especially for cast iron grills, where they have actually shown the Q grill, and that is called Cast Iron Grill and Hibachi World. And they would certainly be able to help you with that. Aluminum zits, yes, those weird little pits with dirt and everything on the bottom. And I'm hoping this does a decent job cleaning it up. Meanwhile, Maria Ken, I have an enamel on cast iron that has rust spots. Looks like coming through the enamel. I use it for bread with parchment paper. Is there any fixing the rust? I see you have a chipped one. Can you fix? Enamel is permanent, I'm afraid. As far as I know, there are no enamelware manufacturers that can repair chips on enamel, regrettably. So if it's reached the point where the iron underneath is starting to rust, well, you're doing a right thing, I think, by using it for baking along with parchment paper. You could probably keep using it that way, but I'd say in that case, the time is likely coming where you may need to consider a new enameled cast iron pot. I've actually gone through a couple of those myself as well, which is why let's take a look here at an enamel cast iron pot that we do have here. And this one I've shown a couple of times. It's fairly new. It is made by Lodge Cast Iron, and this is their 7-quart enameled double Dutch oven. The Lodge has been selling its double Dutch oven for quite a while, and it's quite popular. This one here has a grill underneath rather than the skillet type that you see for with the Lodge bare iron Dutch oven. This one, oh damn it, let me move this away. This particular pot, I used it about a week or so ago, and I'm afraid it got some pretty nasty stains underneath as well. So I have pretty much simply been soaking this in dishwater. I used with or soap with dishwashing soap. Basically, I filled the bottom with water, mixed in some dish soap, and I have been letting it sit ever since. So now that we've done that, let's see what happens here. And it looks like okay. You saw these stains here at the beginning. Well, so far at least, I'm thinking I may be in trouble at this point. It looks like those stains are not yet coming off. So these are, yeah, I mean, these are definitely burnt on bits. So I can see I'm going to have to carefully give this a little bit more scrubbing, unfortunately, and see how we can proceed from there. Okay, I'm told actually that if you boil this, this may actually help to remove those burned on bits. So that's one reason why I put this on the stovetop. Let's turn on the heat and we will bring this to a boil. That may take about another, oh, I don't know, 15 minutes or so. So we will continue from there and see what kind of success we have. Okay. So anyway, there's one example at least of enameled cast iron and an example of aluminum. Who gets custody of the fur brats? I mean, angels. Yes, that's what. Yeah, Rick Stumbow. I have been asked to take the cats with me because where I am going, there is actually going to be plenty of room to take care of them, and they will be pretty secure, and they will have a lot of room to run around and a neighborhood to have fun in. So yeah, the key. So pretty soon we will be seeing more of the cats. Okay, okay, and oh yeah, Papa Dan said hi. And James Griffiths, I was about to suggest boiling water. With bare cast iron, boiling water gets anything stuck off back again. And so I haven't used enamel, so wasn't so sure. Well, then we're about to find out, aren't we? Me. Could you put a little Clorox in the enamel to remove the stains, then wash it out carefully? I would think you probably could. As a matter of fact, I just found out today, regrettably, I'm out of bleach. So I don't have, unfortunately, I'm not able to do that. But in the past, I have in fact used bleach to clean enameled cast iron, and it's actually done a very good job. You heavily diluted bleach, that is. You know, we're talking like with several quarts of water. You put maybe even like about 3 or 4 tablespoons of bleach, and maybe even not even that much. So it is heavily diluted, and that does a really good job bleaching it and bringing it to a nice white inside as well. William Hurt, I just lost baby blue Drew. Oh, made in Holland, Dutch oven due to enamel chipping off. It was my mom's. My apologies. Last meal was field peas and rice. 58 years of service. Danke. Yes, those that is the thing, is that enamel cast iron will not last forever, unfortunately. Not unless you just simply store it and don't use it. It is true that eventually the enamel will wear down, and at one point or another it will reach a point where the pot can no longer be used for cooking, I'm sorry to say. So it's not quite as immortal as regular bare cast iron. But of course, enamel cast iron has a number of really good advantages, which is one reason why it's still so popular, as anybody who uses enamel cast iron knows. I mean, besides the fact that you can use enamel cast iron, of course, for making dishes heavy in tomatoes, heavy in vinegar, as well as looking nice too. So, and yes, and I can only agree with that as well. I use an enameled Dutch oven quite regularly when I make my family recipe for pasta sauce, for instance. So, Cynthia Wesley Glock, I was instructed to still season the rim of my enamel. It's bare iron, and so I do. Yes, that has been instructed even by Lodge Cast Iron. Um, And it's really just a matter of, well, do exactly what you normally would do to season cast iron pot. Uh, you just run a little bit of your favorite seasoning oil over that rim, and then you can still bake it in the oven. Of course, in this case with the enamel, I probably would not want to bring it to the at 500 degrees. So, Corey Clark, barkeeper's friend, should get that cleaned up. That is also certainly possible. Yes, maybe before turning on the heat, I probably should have tried just mixing in some barkeeper's friend in that enamel, in that water rather. All of which that is indeed certainly possible. Okay, at this point, let's move back, shall we, and see what progress has been made with here in the sink. Let's move this down a little bit because I know folks want a nice close view here. There we go. That should do. And there we are. Okay. It looks like, yeah, I would have to say once again, I think this stuff is doing its job because let's see what happens if I just break out. I've got an old toothbrush here that I use for some cleaning, and no, I definitely do not use this on my teeth. And let's see what happens now. And look at this, shall we? It's only been a few minutes, and it looks like a lot of this stuff is coming off. Not completely. Maybe instead of this, let me get out the sponge. Let me get out the old Brillo pad here. Okay. Well, it's done some job, but I think we are not quite done yet. Let me give this another, just a little bit more here. And we will continue from there. Still, it is definitely making some progress. On the other hand, let's take a look on the inside, shall we? And let's see what happens again if I try scrubbing the inside right now. Well, some of it is coming off. Maybe I'm still a little bit premature here. Let me try scraping it this way. Might be able to get somewhere, but I think it's probably going to have to require a bit more of a treatment. So let's get this stuff in again. This stuff definitely has fragrance too, I will say that. It's a good thing we've got the door wide open as well as the window. So, anyway, yes. Oh, yeah. Actually, let me do a little bit more on the top here too. There we go. I guess, again, the lesson is I must have patience. Patience, young Jedi. All right, let's move back to the stove, shall we? Whoa. Yeah, definitely we've got a close up here of this large cast iron pot, that's for sure. I don't think we're quite at the point yet where it's boiling. No, not quite yet. So we will have to come back to that one as well, which means, oops, sorry about that. Which means let's move over then to what we were doing at the beginning, and that is, let's get out a trivet. And let's break out that Canadian cast iron pan. Of course, it's hot now, so that means, yeah, I've heated it, by the way, to about maybe 225 degrees or so, which is higher than boiling, yes. Okay, let's do this right. And get this out. There we go. Here it is. Now let's do a nice close-up for you nice folks here. Okay. As I mentioned, I had given this a coating first, so yep, it's definitely hot. So first thing I need to do is just wipe off the extra coating. There we go. And then from there, just give it a nice thick, decent rubbing on with our fake Crisby cast iron seasoning, which melts almost instantly. That's why we have to heat this thing up to about 225 degrees or so that it will melt very quickly. And from here, I've got a chamois cloth. It's giving it a nice, it's a thick coating right now, but that's good because that means it's enough for me to do the back or the bottom as well as the top and give it a good, thorough coating. No need to be shy here. And a little bit more here on the handle. Can't miss here. There we go. And now finally, now that we've given this thing a thorough coating, the last part, as has been pointed out, is we wipe it off. Because all we need is a thin coating of seasoning. As you know, a thicker coating of seasoning will still work, but it gives it more of a blotchy look because unfortunately the seasoning carbonizes and you've got these big blotches on it. In fact, if the temperature is not high enough, it can even still be sticky, and that's not what we want. But there we go. So now into the oven we go. Pardon me, sorry about that. It's the fragrance. Let's get the oven open. And face down, mind you. One more wipe. One more wipe. There we go. And face down she goes. And from here, I am turning the oven temperature up to a little bit more than 300 degrees Fahrenheit. This is the middle step that I've found not really to be necessary with modern day rough cast iron, but with earlier smooth cast iron, I find it is more important to do the intermediary step. And even Jeff Rogers has commented on that one. To heat it at 300 degrees, give it one more wipe, and then after that, bring it up to 400 degrees for a 2-hour seasoning. So, okay, all right. Papa Dan, Honey J, using the lid is a good idea. Val, your hubby is a smart man. Okay, yeah. Val's Black Cat's rules. Honey, the hubby uses the Dutch oven lid for that. Keeps the kitties off of dinner. Oh, really? And that sounds interesting right there. Okay. Cynthia Wesley, I'm on in since the pandemic. I have a cute Wagnerware aluminum pot, exact same size. I don't know what I was doing, and I almost scrubbed the letters off. Well, as you can see, all I'm really trying to do is get rid of all that dirt and grit that is ground into the grooves and the letters on that Wagnerware pot. And Debbie, thank you, Papa. I've got some aluminum pots I've used for years that need some cleanup. And likewise, JD Hive, John, why not leave the patina in the bottom lettering words for clear legibility? Well, I think I'd call it aesthetic. I guess it's like because I know that that is dirt and grit in those letters in the bottom. It was, as far as I know, it was not really put there intentionally by Wagner. And so I would personally just want to clean it up. But it might be a case really of everybody having their own opinion of that. So, Oh, Debbie, what did you use to spray it with? Well, let me get that out again. Namely, that I am using Easy Off Fume Free Oven Cleaner. And let me emphasize once again, this is the blue cap Easy Off. Never, never use the yellow can. Never use the yellow can of Easy Off with aluminum. Because the yellow can contains lye, which will react with aluminum and damage it. So do not use the yellow can of Easy Off. And that's going to be hard to find, but it'll be nice. Okay, Peg Tooth. I am eliminating all of my enameled cast iron. I'm only looking for an enameled orange red fondue pot with burner, and that will be my new enameled bucket list. I could use it for fries as well. Yes, you can actually. So, well, again, it's a matter of taste. I have a few enameled cast iron pans, but not many because I have found them to be extremely useful for that reason. So that's why all of my enameled pans at this point are Dutch ovens. I once had an enameled grill pan, and that did not last long. I ended up getting rid of it because I didn't really have much use for it. Once, and I actually regret this, I came across a Le Creuset enameled, about a number 6 or 7 size cast iron skillet enameled. And I have one video where I used it as well to make scrambled eggs, and I actually do regret giving that one away as a present. If I ever find one at a good price, a decent bargain, I may very well snatch that up again. But on the whole, I'm still much more of a fan of using bare cast iron for the great majority of my cooking, especially stovetop cooking. And Cynthia Wesley, I was instructed to still season the rim of my enamel. I believe we already went to that point as well. Hello, Shadow. That would be Shadow Walker XM, I believe. So yes, always glad to see you folks there. Corey Clark, my cat steals my eyeglasses while I'm sleeping. Well, that's a new one. um, Honey Badger, I wouldn't mind finding a Findlay or GSW Canadian pan. Yes, as I mentioned already, I was quite shocked to discover that this pan I had paid $5 for was of Canadian origin, and I'm actually glad to have it because there are folks here on the live chat who have asked fairly regularly what my opinion is of Canadian cast iron. And I've had to, up until now, I've had to say, I don't know. I've never had the chance to own or use Canadian cast iron. And well, now I have. So that means we're definitely going to have to use this pretty soon. So, and Val's Black Cat's rules. The hubby makes a great baked chicken in the cast iron, and we have a rescue kitty that still tries to steal her food. Aw, the lid keeps leftovers from the street thief. Well, there we go. Okay, that's what you're talking about there, using that lid for. And Wagner letters. Okay, I guess so. Mine say Wagner we letters gone. Heh. Excuse me one second. Sorry about that. I think I have allergies as well. Okay, Papa Dan, Honey J, using the lid is a smart idea. Yes, that's okay. That is where I came in. Cynthia Wesley, Papa, I thought you knew. I thought about you last evening. Well, thank you. Well, thanks to Papa Dan, that is rather so. Corey Clark, I use Mother's aluminum polish for all of mine, and it's very shiny. Yes, that's a very popular aluminum cleaner, Mother's Mag. For the record, I do not have enough experience again with chemistry to really want to try using the Mother's Mag polish on the inside of my enameled not enameled of my aluminum Dutch oven. I will do so on the outside because I'm not going to be cooking food on the outside. So Debbie, someone dropped a kitten off of here. He's such a little sweetie. We named him Little Buddy. Aw, congratulations, Debbie. And R. Hughes, I have some Canadian pans and waffle irons. Beauties, eh? Are you going to find the dates for the Canadian pan? Yes, I do need to do a little bit of research on that. The pop pot. Oh yeah. Okay, as we said there. Yeah. Yes. Only on the outside. Corey Clark confirms that. Yes, exactly. It's a polish. It's not a seasoning. And yes, I don't want there to be the chance that I could end up getting mother's mag in whatever I cook. So the aluminum polish will only be on the outside. I will reassure you of that. Speaking of which, let's head back one more time and see what we got here. Well, interestingly enough, it seems as though the foam has largely dissolved. So let's see what happens this time. Okay, there we go. See what happens this time. I think we're doing a little better here. Not sure how well this is actually getting down into those little zits and pores. But on the whole, I'd have to say, at least if nothing else, the aluminum itself is not looking too badly. Likewise, on the bottom here. Let's try this. There we go. Still kind of stubborn. I'm actually thinking maybe I should give this thing a treatment and let it sit for an hour or so. But on the whole, I'd say this is actually giving a nice shine to this aluminum Dutch oven here. Initially, it definitely had more of a grayish color to it, and now we are... In fact, let me just rinse this off right now. Just for the heck of it. Well, at this point, I could definitely say we are making progress. It's not perfect yet. I'm probably going to have to give it more of a coating as well. But let me move this angle up here, because I'm trying to show folks, there we go, how the Wagner logo looks, and it's not, and the angle is just not agreeing with me. Let me move this more like this. So as you can see, so far anyway, I've gotten most of the grit out, but not quite all of it. So like it or not, and as well, these little pits here, regrettably, still seem to need a little bit more work as well. So I'm still not done with this. I think I may just leave this here for the rest of the, pretty much for the rest of the video. Let me give it one last coating. And yeah, that's right. I forgot the barkeeper's friend. We'll have to see what that does as well. Oops, let me do this right. Okay, and now I think we will just let that go. And meanwhile, let's go back to this one again. Finally, let's see what the result. Let's see how it looks like right now with that Lodge enameled. It's definitely warmer. I'll say that much. All right. Well, I still don't have a rolling boil on this, but I'm curious right now if I were to take a wooden spoon, definitely not metal, but if I were to take a wooden spoon, try scraping, see what would happen. so far, not much. Yeah, I have to say, this is actually turning out to be a little tougher than I thought. On the other hand, somebody had suggested mixing in some barkeeper's friend in this. I just hope I'm not actually creating some toxic fumes by doing that. Let me turn on the oven fan. There's a thought for you, shall we? But let's move this little concoction around. Cover it. And let it come to a boil. So anyway, so far my progress, I have to say, has been slow, and I have been making progress, even if it is not absolutely fantastic. I am not denying that, except, of course, that is for that Canadian-made pan. Papa Dan says the Wagner is looking good and the method is working faster and easier than the way I did my club aluminum. Well, yes, I will say at least I have had to use very little elbow grease on this Wagner pan, so I'm actually quite happy about that. And use a chainmail scrubber. I have to say, not with these things. The chainmail scrubber, while it works great with bare cast iron, I think there's too much risk that it could scratch. It could scratch the aluminum, or it could definitely scratch the enamel. So I am going to politely decline the suggestion of using a chainmail scrubber there. So usually the pits are from acids in the food cooked in it or soaking the pan too long. Yeah, there is certainly that possibility. Those pits are permanent, of course, and I recognize that. What I'm essentially trying to do is get rid of all of that grit that is deep down there in those pits. Pegtooth was my Wi-Fi wonky. Okay, well, make sure, are you using Wi-Fi or are you using an Ethernet connection? There's one question there for that. Baking soda with toothbrush or salt? Well, salt is more of an abrasive than anything else there, I think. So again, salt is great for using on bare cast iron. I'm not sure if it would have that much an effect on on this aluminum pot, because while I am indeed trying to scrape it all off, I'm also trying to use a chemical reaction to dissolve and get rid of that grit, especially so that the aluminum is not damaged when I clean it off. So. Oh, I've got the patience. I don't know if I've got the arm strength to scrub. Yes. Papa Dan, it was a GSW. Oh, yeah, that's right. Papa Dan, you did say that you do have at least one Canadian made cast iron pan. So I can only offer you the best of luck. Well, congratulations for having that. So, and meanwhile, actually, hey, here, this is actually a little plus as well. Let me show one other thing I have here. You may have seen in the background here, and that is this. This is actually the cast iron Kamal made in Mexico that I found. What is on here is not grease, but in fact it's cast iron seasoning wax. I accidentally melted a fair amount of my fake Crisbee on this a little while ago, and now this thing's finally hot enough to melt so that it's finally starting to melt off, which means I have the chance to clean this up, and we'll get this in the oven for seasoning as well. So I'm actually quite happy with that. Just got to get rid of the excess. There we go. And speaking of excess, let's put some of the excess on the bottom here, especially in these grooves. There we go. Yes, observe here. Hecho on Mexico. Kamal, Taste, I know, which means taste. But nonetheless, yeah, I was happy to get this one at a flea market for $5. $5 certainly seems to be a number to with a number of the vendors here at those flea markets. And I love the fact that this is actually made in Mexico, not China, but Mexico. So now that I've rubbed this off, let's get this into the oven right next to that other pan, shall we? There we go. Okay, and finally, here we are again with the Canadian-made one, which I mentioned already. I had heated up to 300 degrees. So let's get this in. Let's, as I said, come on. Let's give this one last wiping off. This is at Jeff Rogers' suggestion, mind you. Wipe off the excess one last time. And yes, there is some. But you only need to do it quickly or just a little bit. And into the oven, this will go to heat at 400. And then we will have the first layer of seasoning done. So that part is off to a start at least. Now we've got that up to about 400 now. Okay, well, keep jumping back and forth here because I seem to be doing several things at once. We went from enameled, we went from an aluminum cast iron. Yeah, aluminum cast iron. We went from aluminum to bare cast iron, and once again back to, oh, yeah, now it's definitely hotter at this point. And now back to here, the lodge with its own chemical chemical concoction in progress. This time, and on top of everything else, we mixed in Barkeeper's Friend. So now let's see what happens. Still trying to be very careful because, again, I don't want to damage the enamel. Oh, yeah, that's hot, all right. Gotta watch myself here. Well, I think if nothing else, it is definitely whitening the pot. Although, as you can see, these little bits here are still remaining on, although admittedly, I'm not scrubbing them very hard. It's probably part of the reason why. So I'm going to let this soak for a little bit longer. Then I will try bringing out the green scrubby and see what happens there. So anyway, that's the progress I've made so far. As you can see, progress has been slow, unfortunately, but not completely worthless. And yeah, sometimes you have to toothbrush the stuffing out of the stuck-on bits, which is what I'm going to be doing on that aluminum pot, definitely. Cynthia Wesley, we got to start an addiction group, cast iron sobriety. Yeah, well, that's why they call it cast iron-itis, mind you. Namely, it is something of an addiction. There's no doubt about that. Pawpaw Dan, for my clubs, I used Barkeeper's Friend and lots of elbow grease. Then finished seasoning by using cleaning by using Flitz polish. That stuff is great on knives and most metals, including aluminum. Peg tooth, I will only use my remaining enameled cast iron for wet or oil. Apart from a fondue part from the 1970s, I'm a klutz and will not replace the old ones except my mini yellow Kopko Danish Dutch oven. And Debbie says, Val, I like to make candy in the cast iron. Best ever. Here in Detroit, when we head south of the border, we get to Windsor. Shadow Walker, you know you're a cast iron fanatic when people ask what you did last night and you tell them you watched someone clean cast iron on YouTube. Yes, and thank you very much for doing so, folks. I mean, I'm amazed, actually, that I still have 75 people here, even after all this time. So, As you can see, progress, as I mentioned, has not been, I will say it has not been phenomenal, but I have definitely made progress. If nothing else, this Wagner pot in the kitchen here is definitely a lot cleaner than it was at the beginning of this video. So, yeah, once everything is done here, I will definitely be kind enough to show the results. That much I can certainly say. So, okay, and hello, my name is Val, and I am a cast iron addict. Hi, Val. The first step in getting better is accepting. Well, that depends. Yes. And Pegtooth, I believe it's meant to be a truncation of Copenhagen Company. Yes, Copco is a pretty well-known European name brand for enameled cast iron. So, and there are a lot more enamel. I'm sorry. Okay, okay, we'll do. Okay, all right. Okay. And 75, well, again, what do you expect? It is, after all, a Thursday, so rather than Cast Iron Wednesday. And so I can only say thank you very much to everybody for showing up on that. And at CIC Fan Club, well, I've never asked for a fan club. I will say that. I mean, after all, I am not asking for donations. I am not selling merchandise. And so far, I've shied away from product plugs. But that's, well, who knows what'll happen in the near future. On the other hand, that Red Lodge is looking very nice. Yes, I do actually like how it's cleaned up. I will say that as well. And again, this is a nice 7-quart Dutch oven too. It's a nice big size. So for that reason, I'm very glad to have received it as a birthday present last year. Hello, Janet Bautista. Papa Dan, not sure if my Canadian is 8 or 9, he says here. I thought that this one that I found on Sunday was an 8, was a 9, but it turned out it is actually an 8. I will say the lye cleaned up, stripped off the seasoning nicely, and so it's much easier to see as a number 8. Hello, my Cynthia, and I'm a cast iron addict. Where you at, Rick D? We accept you, one of us. We accept you, one of us. And the channel loves some love. Yeah, show Trouble in the channel some love. Yeah, Trouble actually is sleeping in the other room. He has been having a lot of fun outdoors the last couple of days. I think this summer weather is getting to him, so he's been staying inside a little bit more. But both Trouble and Miss Mobley are doing just fine, and as I said, they're going to be giving little cameo appearances here for some time to come too, and I will certainly reassure everybody of that. At this point, I mean, I know with some of these, it has been able to go an hour and a half, but as I said, I do believe I've been able to show what I wanted to show here. Just some simple tips, rather, that is, on cleaning enameled cast iron. Whereas you can see, I myself, mind you, have not had granted miraculous results, but I guess maybe it's because I have been taking my time here. So I could, yeah, as I mentioned already, I think I'm going to let this cool off, and then I will bring out the green scrubby and see if I can do a better job on this. But nonetheless, there we are. We've got a cast iron pan seasoning in the oven. I've got the aluminum Dutch oven, which again, I will give it one more scrubbing in a little while to see if we can get rid of all of that. And I will be sure to post pictures as well on the on my Facebook group. Which I'm very grateful to everybody who shows up there, because again, I'm not asking for donations and I'm not selling products. So that's just how I am. But what I really like is how all you folks here have taken the time to make this to make these live videos really something special. That actually really means a lot, and I know I say this every week, but I can't help. But I mean it every week. That it's really you folks here who make these live videos so much fun for me to do, for me to make a fool of myself, and for you to throw out your comments. And I certainly do not do not discourage you from the comments. So just ran the gamut, that is. And yeah, I guess you could say so. Best wishes for the move. Well, the move, it looks like at this point is almost definitely going to happen. I'm still at the point where I'm waiting for the final word from the lawyers, but if and when that happens, and it seems almost certain, I can be sure that there will indeed be a move, and then I'm finally going to be in a much better kitchen. So, what state will you be moving to? Continued success, brother. I think I could say this much, that at this point it looks like I am going to be moving to New York. And as far as Facebook is concerned, I'm moving to the Bronx. You see, when I moved to this apartment where I am right now, I posted on Facebook that I moved to Brockton, Massachusetts. And as far as Facebook is concerned, that's where I moved to, because Facebook sucks. And I have no intention of revealing my true location on Facebook. Likewise, that's why, as far as Facebook is concerned, I'm going to be moving to the Bronx. So this is going to be an interesting later chapter of my life, that's for sure. But I like the fact that it appears that I will be sharing this later chapter of my life with all of you folks. And that's really what makes this all so much fun. And I can only thank everybody so much for showing up here each week. Thank you very much for everything, folks. Thank you for your time this week. And next week, I'm going to do my best. Although things are going to be kind of chaotic now over the next couple of weeks, because I'm already starting to pack, and we're planning for a big move. At this point, it looks like the move itself will probably be taking place in about 3 weeks. But that means at least next week I'll be able to do some nice, good cooking here, which is what I certainly intend to do. And I can only hope that all of you folks show up next week as we go through this once again, and I do my best to entertain you and have some fun, because that's really what's the most important thing, is that it's supposed to be fun. He said as there was a motorcycle in the background. But that's the most important thing, really, about cooking and cast iron, in that it's fun. So, yeah, 50% of the viewers on this live have liked the video. Well, thank you very much for that. And I can only thank everybody, as I said, for showing up, and thanking you for the likes, and especially thanking you for being here. And have a great week, everyone, as Debbie says. Thank you so much for everything. Have a good evening, folks. See you next Wednesday.